Thank you so much for joining, Vivek. The first question to you would be, that is something which is there in everybody's mind. What is causing this sudden dip in the air quality? And if you could also elaborate a little bit about the sources of it.
The major reason that is appearing right now is the interplay of the meteorological factors and the pollution sources.
Okay.
So, among the pollution sources, today particularly, what we are observing that biomass burning is appearing as the major contributor, about 35%. Next is transportation, about 12%, and rest are like other sources like industries, power plants, and rest of the sources, residential burning and the neighboring towns, because the wind is coming from northwest direction, so Jhajjar and those cities are also contributing. So what we must be careful that what when we talk about air quality is not about the air quality of the city itself. It is actually getting impacted by the neighboring areas too. So the sources of pollution, some of the sources are consistent, which pollute throughout the year, like vehicles, power plants, and industries. But the episodic sources, like this is the episodic period, particularly when the cropping pattern changes, farmers change from one crop pattern to another part. So this period actually they need to clear the farms very in a very short period of time. And what we are observing because of the scarcity of the water, the regulations in Punjab doesn't allow them to do that during the summer period plantation. So it gets delayed. So within a week's time or say 10 days time, they need to clear the field. So this is the period when the burning starts. But this is not just the only source of pollution throughout the year. What we observe that even without the farm fire during the entire period of the winter, the air pollution remains within very poor and severe category on several days. So definitely other sources contribute too much during that period. And Delhi NCR particularly is heavily motorized place. There are crores of vehicles which are flying in the city, and there are industrial belts across NCR region because the industries have been moved out of the city. They are operating outside. There are several measures being taken in Delhi and Delhi particularly, like we don't allow more than 10-year-old trucks to enter into the city. There is a pollution tax on the trucks, and the BS6 norms have been implemented across India. And Delhi government has started the electric mobility initiative also, wherein they have set the target of achieving 25% of the electrification of all the vehicles, new registrations, particularly commercial vehicles, because like three-wheelers, buses, and two-wheelers, which are very becoming very popular in e-commerce sector. So all those are being they will be converted. But where we are failing are a few areas. We are investing huge amount of money in the building the infrastructure like roads and flyovers, expressways, widening the roads, and it is attracting a lot of traffic. So the number of vehicles are actually increasing, and almost like 1,000 vehicles are registered every day in Delhi alone. And you can imagine that what is happening in NCR region, because there is very poor connectivity. The metro connectivity cannot solve the problem of mobility, because we need buses too. And for this, Supreme Court had set a target of 10,000 buses should be there in 2001. Today it is 2023, but still we have achieved only 7,000 buses. So we haven't improved our public transportation within across the Delhi, as well as NCR's towns are not properly connected. That is one of the reason. Another reason is power plant emissions. Delhi has switched all the power plants to gas, natural gas, but the power plants around the Delhi and NCR are running on coal. 13 around 13 power plants. So we need to switch to gas to them or clean up the emissions by enforcing tighter emission standards. Also, piped natural gas should be used by all the industries across the NCR region. That has to happen, but that is not happening in a big way. So there are several factors which remain unresolved so far, and that is causing the air pollution. And certainly during the winter period, the meteorology doesn't help. Right now, the wind speed is less than 10 kilometer per hour, so around 4 to 8 kilometer per hour speed. So wind is not blowing neither horizontally or vertically. So whatever pollution is happening is stagnant on the ground. So these are the factors which are causing very high air pollution.
We're also seeing a lot of cases of respiratory infections, itchy eyes, pulmonary disease, and there are also recent studies that shows that air pollution is leading to higher incidence of type 2 diabetes. What do you think? I mean, how is it affecting the vulnerable population?
See, there is a major scientific, like medical science has found that earlier it used to thought that air pollution impacts lungs only
Mm.
and respiratory problems happen. But now they are finding it has a linkage with blood pressure, hypertension, arthritis, cataract. There are a whole lot of issues, neurodevelopment, and there are impacts on the kids. So, type 2 diabetes linkages have been found because one of the reasons they have found that because air pollution impacts overloads the immunity system. Body fights the air pollution in a way that these are foreign particles. So, immunity gets overloaded, and the viruses and bacteria impact the body, and there are other stresses on the body. And since the lifestyle in the city is becoming more and more sedentary, so the lifestyle problems as well as air pollution is interlinked, and it is impacting, causing the type 2 diabetes, one of the reasons. So there are several other factors too, which lead to hypertension and other things. And certainly asthma gets triggered by the air pollution. There are other lower respiratory infections that happens because of this. Because main reason is when the lungs are weak, because of air pollution, the bacteria and viruses impact a lot. So during the particularly during the winter period, what we observe that the people with cardiovascular problems as well as the pulmonary problems, there are huge number of emergency visits happen to the hospitals, and the doctors report that about 30% increase in emergency room visits, and many people suffer silently because they don't know that it is linked with air pollution. Even the doctors can't tell it categorically. So certainly this is a major health implication, and all the health studies are finding that air pollution is one of the major environmental health hazard across world as well as in India.
I think my final question to you would be, do you think we are doing enough? And if not, what can be done?
Certainly, we are not doing enough because our pace of action is falling short of the scale of the problem. Problem is growing in a big way. We are industrializing and urbanizing at a very much faster rate. It is projected that there will be huge number of cities will be expanding. More and more population will shift from rural areas to urban areas, so certainly motorization, industrialization is going to increase. But at this rate of GDP growth that we want to achieve, $5 trillion economy and even more than that. So we have a very huge hope of improving the economy, but the kind of investments that should happen in air pollution control is not happening. So industries might be producing goods, but the goods are produced without having proper air pollution control. And certainly, we are not investing much on the public transportation, and there are several other issues. So we need to find out all the aspects of controls where we need to do. We need to plan our cities much better, compact, so that the need to travel and sprawl reduces, and mixed land use gets developed. So all these factors needs to be like thought through, and our future can be different certainly if we plan better.
Thank you so much for joining us, Vivek. Thank you for joining us, guys. We'll be back soon with another episode soon.